And this thing is a lemon heart bomb.
Yeah. Headhunter, danger drinks.
Yeah.
They're all danger drinks in my book.
Well, that's how they got the guys to drink them in the beginning, because, you know, foofy drinks were for women.
There's a truth to that, and there's still a truth to that today. Supposedly, I was talking to Jason Alexander down in Tacoma Cabana, and he was saying there'd be guys that'd be like, yeah, I'll take one of those tiki drinks, but does it have to have the flowers in it?
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, come on, man, just chill out.
We took that fun class at TikiCon about incorporating story into your bar. I was thinking, is there anything in here that isn't our story?
We don't really. There's no. Well, yeah, we were reading the Trader Brandon's thing. Oh, you need a story. Maybe it was a shipwreck where a couple people survived and they brought dragless flotsam.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, never really did that. This is all the stuff we liked.
Or it's stuff people brought us.
Yeah. So
or stuff that went with parties we were doing.
When Brandon was talking about that, the idea of like have a story.
Yeah.
For your bar, that's a great idea.
It is a good idea
in theory, but how it works though, when it comes to billing a tiki bar, a lot of it comes down to what you find or what's available to you.
Yeah, it's a little more organic process.
I have a Papa San chair in my tiki bedroom. I wasn't looking for a Papa. I was out and about. Hey, there you go. Well, there you go. The tiki bar that I found is one that I found on Craigslist. Unless you're building things, well, that's a completely different thing. But I agree more with what you're saying, which is that I think someone's tiki bar is your story, and your story starts a long, long time ago
in a galaxy far, far away,
or a place called Seattle.
We started with theme parties, and it started with a children's book from Disney.
Yes, it did actually.
And
I remember that.
Yeah, so we
needed a nudge.
What was the book?
The book was children's parties.
Yes, and my little sister was involved, and so we tried it out, and we learned a couple of things quickly. And so if you set up a theme to a party, it kind of builds like a frame around it. There's some parameters, so people who go to it, kind of have a frame of reference to which to work. It actually makes them more comfortable to an extent.
They know what to do.
Yeah.
They know what to bring.
It's also a form of escapism. So
what should I wear? What should I wear? Honey,
Yeah.
what should I wear?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, there you go.
And it took us a number of years to figure out, we could apply this to grown-up parties too, and serve real drinks, and it'd still be pretty awesome.
I was talking to somebody, and we're talking about the idea of that for some people, the reason why they like tiki is, I don't want to say you're wearing a costume, but that's the word that's coming to my mind.
Okay.
And it's like, like if I'm in costume, then I'm playing. I'm not myself then anymore. I could be something different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people like in the tiki scene. They throw their fez on, they put their necklace on, and now they're not Jim at the office. They're Tiki Jim from
Tiki Jim from Bora Bora, or from deepest, darkest Africa.
It's a different mental space. So, it allows them to distance themselves from whatever's troubles in the real world and kind of escape for a few hours and have a good time.
Yeah, kind of like the idea, like I've always found fascinating, was David Bowie. When he did Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
He's you won't believe it, but he's actually shy. And he used that character. So I'm going to go up on stage as Ziggy Stardust.
Well, yeah.
Not David Bowie. So once he's like, well, I'm playing a character, then it gives him free reign to to do a little bit more than maybe you normally wouldn't.
Yeah.
A layer of armor.
Yeah, I always noticed growing up that all the cast parties I ever went to, from doing a show or things like that, people still, they were themselves, but they still had their makeup on. They still were like partially in costume or things like that, and it really loosened them up. Probably didn't hurt that they were theater people, but people really like to have a framework to let them know what are the rules, and if there are no rules, they like to know that too. So we've probably always done themed things really far back. You know, I think it started with the puppy party, and somebody challenged
God.
me to make
that was awful.
a dip that looked like Gainsburgers.
And she did.
And I did. And it looked exactly like it, so much so people were afraid to eat it. And then when they did, they discovered it was yummy.
Very, very little has changed.
Yeah. And so I'm still doing that today. Things like shrimp brains, you know.
You can make a remarkably realistic-looking human brain using one of those molds, but using a
But
chili
instead
sauce
of doing
aspic and shrimp.
Yeah,
Are you
instead of
serious?
doing
Yeah.
just Jell-O,
You'll see one.
you line the
Not today.
shrimps up in such a way that it creates the crenations in the brain, and then you backfill it with the gelatin to hold everything together. And it looks disturbingly real, especially when you put it on a mannequin head.
And then you eat off the
Yes,
mannequin.
the mannequin head,
Yeah.
saw the top off, dropped the Jell-O mold on top, then ran a few bandages around it to conceal the seam, and you have an astonishing buffet item.
Yeah, that was really
Could you imagine if you all the time that you spend trying to figure out how to make shrimp brains and what the other things you can be doing?
And then we also discovered that people like, you know, that you think they want light, bright, and breezy, you know, happy tiki, but what they really want,
Dark as shit.
they
Yes.
want danger tiki. They
Yeah.
want,
That is tiki to me.
yeah.
That's all. There's always been that misnomer that people talk about, like tiki. Immediately they think, oh, like being on a beach and surfboards and stuff like that. It's like
Can be.
It's like yeah, but when I think of tiki, I think of a tiki bar. It's dark. Hopefully, it's been around forever. Like we're talking about the alibi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you go into this bar, it's doesn't smell right. You know, there's tikis and there's things hanging up, and they haven't been dusted. You know, in like a decade.
Yeah, at least.
There's a sense of danger because you might get like gangrene of like.
Yeah, don't poke yourself on the things on the way to the bathroom because that could be bad.
So when
Yeah.
you guys start getting into tiki here in Seattle, what years was that?
That was probably about 95. Or
Yeah, that's a good guess.
96,
So
somewhere in
paint me
there.
a picture, Jeanie. What was the tiki scene like?
It was a dark and desolate
Scene?
wasteland.
Question?
So you just you just described Seattle anyway.
Yeah, and where do you think grunge came from?
Yeah.
Oh no, it came from Hoquiam actually. But but for here, there really wasn't much of anything. There was a Trader Vic's outpost at the Westin for a long time, but it was very much had become a victim of the gin and tonic and rum and coke, and you know, a single alcohol
tending.
and something out of the gun bartending style, which really was the murder of tiki. And it wasn't cool anymore to have escapism. You know, they wanted that whole 1980s gritty, let's have your neon kamikaze, and oh, let's not forget, if you were going to get tropical, it was the Caribbean, and it was
Buffett.
yeah, it was Jimmy Buffett, but it was also like Miami Vice.
Oh, yeah.
and
Yes.
and that was what was okay to be tropical. Tiki was really out. And,
really
Really out.
yeah, about as out as it could be. What we found was thrift tiki. Our first tikis were all from like the back dregs of an antique mall. The Goodwill on it's going on a pink tag clearance today.
Junk stores in Long Beach were
Junk stores
good,
in Long Beach where the stock doesn't change over for 15
yes,
to 20
where
years.
the Trader Vic's fog cutter is marketed as a flower vase because it's so big they wouldn't
Yeah.
assume a drink went in it.
They all, yeah. and it was
cost a pittance, yeah.
$3.25,
So,
and
yeah,
that was
something, isn't
that
it?
was a lot. So so we actually probably started.
So why did you two like it then?
Well, these are cool.
they are? I mean, they're cool.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
So you look
of
at
course,
it, and
absolutely,
you know,
they're
it's the
cool.
stuff nightmares are made out of. You know, and so it probably touched on the Scooby-Doo and Jonny Quest in our souls. Scooby-Doo is the first place I ever got The Other, where the guy in the pygmy in the gigantic mask is chasing you with the spear across Saturday morning cartoons landscape. And
Which just keeps repeating.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they played those wild 70s songs to it, you know, da-da-da-da, you know, off they go. And, you know, and that chase scene happened in
They always ran in
Yes.
the same
direction.
Yes.
and as a group, you know. Like,
Right.
Yeah, and then they'd move the film ahead and then
Right,
put it
yes.
back again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
and
Johnny
then
Quest is sort of similar.
but Johnny Quest was
but the animation
cool.
was way better. The soundtrack
Yeah.
was way better. You had the deepest, darkest jungle, and
and you might
Well,
have
you're
it,
saying that Johnny Quest's animation's better. Even that's kind of like,
yeah, but it was
but
day and night
for
from
the time. That's why there was only one season originally. It was
So
it
expensive.
cost so much at the time that they could only afford one
there's
season.
one
of it.
season of Johnny Quest.
Of the original,
The
yes,
original Johnny
and
Quest
then it's
was
like,
season.
yeah, then it's like
Yeah.
it costs too much to animate. We can't do it because they were using watercolor paintings and all that stuff in the backgrounds.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
yes, their animation was totally cutting edge and too expensive for the studio.
Yeah. So like Disney, they were using matte backgrounds, and but then again, once again, it
Yeah.
was the super cool ex-spy is taking care of the kid, and out of nowhere, Jade, the dangerous vampy girl, shows up, and they're in Hong Kong, or they're in Bora Bora,
Or they're being
they're-
chased by Komodo dragon lizards.
yeah, or
the middle of
Dr.
the jungle.
Sin is after him in
Yeah.
the jungle lair, you know.
Yeah.
So that, and then
Or they may sacrifice to some Amazonian native's god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
it's-
Yeah, you're yeah, not
It's a-
as you were
danger tiki,
as you
yeah.
were literally just saying all this. I'm like, yeah, and it makes complete sense. Maybe for me, along with you two, because I watched all that stuff as a kid. Exotic. It was
It
exotic.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like
Tropical, exotic, jungle. You said the Orient.
Saturday morning exotica.
yeah, so for the kid whose dad is a policeman, and there is no Hawaiian vacation for you,
No.
you know, Saturday morning cartoons in the living room with milk in the living room.
Seriously.
And and cereal with sugar on it that might even be like Blueberry or Count Chocula.
Forever, my mom never allowed us to eat or drink in the living room.
Exactly.
I think eat or drink in the living room.
Yeah.
I think finally she loosened up with the drinking.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where like I'll still go home, and then like I'm gonna walk into the living room with like maybe a bowl or something, and there's like that's never like. Ah,
And then you stop.
I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mom. I didn't.
Yeah. And, you know,
And now I'm at a point where like, what are you gonna do? Ground me?
For us, it was, you know, all of that cartoon excitement. We still wanted it.
Yeah.
And so when we saw stuff like these headhunters and shield faces, I mean, like the Scooby-Doo stuff, it was really culturally inappropriate, but the visuals are awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so when I saw that, I still wanted it.
Yeah.
So even though it was out of style and it wasn't the thing, that's what we bought.
well,
And so I went down on vacation, and Tom had to work through that one, in which I'm sure he didn't mind missing a part of a family vacation.
no.
And I'm in the back of
I won.
of a antique mall down in Long Beach, and I found these guys.
Oh wow.
And so this is an original Orchids of Hawaii. And if you put this up to one of the modern ones, that's a recast.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the detail. The color's different. The ceramic is heavier. These are, you know, they're just, even the real production stuff of the day
Wow.
has a lot of depth to it. And so I saw them on a shelf, and they were super cheap. And I was like, you know, it's something I think Tom would really dig. So I brought him home, and he's like, what do I do with this? And then later, this is before Barry. Later, we start hunting for how to make the drinks.
Yeah.
And so we ended up with, we came from the Trader Vic angle. I know that everybody preaches the gospel of Don Beach, but for us, our gateway drug was Trader Vic.
Yeah.
Because Trader Vic was a prolific author. Don Beach hid every single one of his secrets. The reason we have them is because Barry and the bartenders who worked for him and all of that have opened up in their dotage.
Yeah.
And no, Barry, not your dotage, their dotage. So it's him finding those secrets and ferreting them out that has opened up the world of Don Beach.
Yeah.
The world of Trader Vic was an open book.
So speaking of tiki drinks, in Seattle in the mid '90s, was there any tiki bars here at all?
No.
Were you going to any of them?
We looked back through our antique lexicon of memory, and Tom did a little digging because a lot of tiki for us is a blur. It might have something to do with the alcohol.
Yeah. No, do it.
It turns out the one that's really the standout was the luau, and it happened.
Which is in your neighborhood. It's
it
was
a block.
Was right down the street.
It was a block and a half away from us. No. It was started by 3 friends. Of those 3 friends, the one we knew the best was Tony Boitano. He did a great job. The red onion jam was a delight, and you just automatically came to your table as part of an Ohana thing.
It was a complimentary appetizer with some fresh-made flatbread.
And they had the big fish on the wall, and they'd put up the masks, and they'd really, kind of gotten the feel right.
And it was the only game in town.
And it was the only one in town.
Only.
Now, there were others.
And that was in 97. They started in 97, and that was it. The only other thing that even looked vaguely tiki was the Lava Lounge downtown.
Oh, yeah,
which of course had the name and had the tiki, but it's like an industrial joint that serves beer. So
it's essentially a dive bar.
Yeah.
Punk rock dive bar.
And then there was also the hula hula was very early.
That came later.
Yes.
Oh yeah, hula
came later.
The tiki and rockabilly and surf and that kind of thing really are the last bastions of the individualists. So people who like them tend to find other people who like that, or liked metal or punk. Yeah.
That'd be true. There would have been the rockabilly surf scene.
Yeah.
And they share kind of the tiki elements, right?
Well, it's like, that tiki has sort of kind of leaked itself into the whole rockabilly thing, because we go to Viva Las Vegas, and every year there's a little bit more tiki.
And it wasn't there to begin with. If you talk to the old timers there,
it was a car show,
kind of gradually,
and then it was a rock show.
Infected it and kind of
it's kind of like like a bad infection, sort of, it just kind of blossoms, sticks out, and you think you might have stamped it out, but out it comes again.
No, and I'll tell you what I mean. Me personally, I mean, in the '90s, I always had an appreciation for rockabilly, but like I have a fear of dancing. Like I'm terrified of it. And when it came to music, I was more into like garage rock, and I like '50s music, more than rockabilly. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, I like Buddy Holly, Little Richard.
Oh, yeah.
I like them, too.
More rhythm blues, more doo-wop, as opposed to... I can appreciate it, but it was never my thing. And I even had a point where I had, like, pompadour and stuff like that. And then it just got thinner. Thinner.
That's okay. It looks more suave.
Yeah, more suave. But the thing that I really liked about the whole tiki thing is, like, I know this sounds stupid, but it's like, oh yeah, I could wear a shirt and throw a lei on me, and there you go, I'm in the scene.
Yep.
And
boom, you're done.
It's a little easier if you're a guy.
It's very easy. I have no hair. I have no hair to put a flower in. Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.